Okay, so we got this JVC TV, and basically the original problem was there was no remote functions. The remote for the TV, the OEM remote, the one that came with the TV, JVC remote, was not working, and also the cable box remote that she was using for the volume and stuff, which was programmed for the TV, stopped working. And so quite naturally what I did is, of course, I took my little remote checker. I've had this for about 10 years. It just checks the infrared bulb at the top. It's a non-visible light, so right, it's infrared. And you can also use your cell phone. I don't have mine down here. You can also do it this way. Well, first let me show you this way. That's why I got the light off. And basically I would just hold this little thing up to the light, and for a few seconds, and then hopefully you can see this on camera. I turned the light off in the back. You got a little dark in here, but I'll just point the little bulb, infrared bulb, at the middle, the little brown square in the middle, and as you can see, that lit up. And I can check all the other buttons. So if you've got a remote that's, say one of the functions is not working, and you don't know if it's the TV or the remote, most likely it's the remote, one of the buttons are bad. You can check all the buttons on here, and you see it lights up. You can also use your cell phone too. Wherever the camera is, see I'm actually hitting it, and I can actually see. Hopefully you can see that. I'm hitting power. Okay. So that's a good way to check the remote and make sure it's working. A little trick of the trade in case you didn't know that. But this TV, like I said, I checked the remote control and it was working just fine. Like exactly what I did. Okay, I just checked the remote with my infrared detector and my camera. And so we have to isolate if it's the infrared detector board, or it could also be a main board problem, because the signal that comes from the remote actually goes from the infrared detector, the board, usually on the bottom where the standby light is located, and it goes to the main board, and that's what communicates with the main board, and that's how it gets the functions. Tell it to volume up, volume up. Okay, the main board's doing all the work, so it has to get that signal. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to
Chi-Town's finest.
Okay, so if your remote is working, the very next thing that you want to do is go right to the board with the infrared detector on it, and this is the board here. I was actually screwing in down there. I took the two screws out, flipped it around where the infrared detector is. It's actually located right there. Right there, that's your infrared detector. So that is what takes the remote signal, goes through here and communicates to the main board via this wire right there. Okay, and a little circuitry, and I believe this plug right here is actually for the little standby light. The standby light is also located on here. The two LEDs right here, one is the red one and one is the white one, I believe, when it's on. So let's tell you the story what happened with this TV. I was in the customer's house, right? The original problem was the remote functions, right? Check the remote. Remote was okay. So then the next thing I do, in most cases, is this has bad solder connections, okay? In a lot of cases, when the remote's not working, it has bad solder connections. And so I soldered this. I went to the other side, okay? Soldered the pins on here. Okay, and then I soldered some more stuff that I seen needed some TLC, right? And I did have it working after I soldered this and something else. I said, okay, let me just solder the rest of this stuff, make sure everything's okay, make sure she won't be calling me back. And after I soldered it, guess what? the TV would not cut on with the buttons, and I believe the buttons are somewhere. I might be a touch thing. I'm not sure where the buttons are at. But anyway, I think there's one power button on here. I'm not sure. But anyway, it would come on, and so I had to disconnect this right here for the remote, and the TV was able to actually come on manually. So I just went ahead and ordered the board, or tried to order the board using this part number. Couldn't find the whole board. Everybody said they had it, but it wasn't in stock. And so I actually ordered a kit, and I told her once I ordered the kit, I was going to pull the TV and just bring it in. That way I could take my time doing this. But what happened was I found out that when I was doing soldering in the house, trying to solder this board, all the little back connections that I seen on these little resistors and, like I said, the remote sensor, I had a solder short. Okay. Once I removed it, the remote's working fine now. But to do a little quick video, since I got it in here, of how to check the remote, how to determine whether it's the remote, board, the IR detector, or it could be a main board problem, okay? And it's pretty easy. The best way to do it is if you have an oscilloscope. You can check it. Let me see if I can just zoom in on this board here, see how good my camera is, and you can see that remote sensor is labeled, but this pin, these are labeled, okay? This pin says BCC, okay? Usually these remote sensors have 3 pins on them. One is the voltage coming from the main board, from the standby. When the TV's in standby, I believe it sends like 3.3 or 5 volts to this pin on top, okay? So if it's facing towards you, it will be the pin to the right. The middle pin is ground, and the last pin to the far left is as you can see, it says B out. Okay, that is actually the actual signal that's going out from here and going through the circuitry and going back to the main board, okay? And so what we're gonna do is hook everything up and make sure everything is working as far as that is concerned, right? Okay, so this is what I did. I put my actual meter and put it on DC volts and checking the BCC going to the infrared detector, okay? Because if it's not, get on to get the BCC, that could be a mainboard issue also, right? And I have my scope. I have one channel of my scope connected to where it says V out. That's at the other end of the infrared detector. Okay, that's when I'm actually going to be able to see my signal and see what it looks like. And what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to put my other channel of my scope onto the main board and try to find a test point for that same V out signal that's going to the main board and see if they both should match up. Make sure one of the signals is not being clipped. Most likely the later going to the main board. And so anyway, I'm just gonna just do this first, right? Just so you can see. I'm gonna plug it in. Keep in mind, if using the oscilloscope, always use a isolation transformer. And if you have a 3-prong plug, this is very important, right? If you have a TV or any kind of device with a 3-prong plug like this one, you do not want to use that third, what do they call that? The neutral wire or whatever that is. You want to just use a 2-prong adapter because you want to totally isolate the TV or component and your scope, okay? And yourself too, right? So, because otherwise you're going to damage your scope and or the TV or both. But there's plenty of videos on that. I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm just going to go ahead and plug it in. Okay. Okay. I'm going to take a look at the TV's in standby. As you can see, there is a red light. Okay, it's in standby. Okay, that's the light right there. You see that pretty good. Okay. And so we are getting our 5 volts. Okay. And I'm also going to show you what happens when I hit the remote. Okay. Got my remote. I'm going to hit power. And I'm going to hit it. I'm not going to hit power. I'm going to hit another button. Okay. I'm going to hit this cursor thing here and look at my scope. Okay. It is changing. I'm holding the button. It is changing. So as far as we know, the infrared detector is working. Okay. Now, like I said, it could be some bad solder connections on the board. We don't know that yet. But this is how we figure this out. I'm going to take my second channel probe, okay, and I'm going to go to the actual plug, and let's see if I can zoom in on it. Okay, this here is the plug, the ribbon connector coming from the infrared detector to the main board, and as you can see on this side, there are some look like little test points, okay, and I'm going to try to locate a test point that has the output signal on it also. Okay, so that's pretty much how we troubleshoot this problem, because if I have a signal when I hit the remote on the actual LED sensor and I don't have one on the actual plug here, that means that most likely we are just having a problem with the infrared detector or the board that's on there, something on the board, okay? And the reason that we want to go all the way up here and check is because we can also eliminate the possibility of having a bad wire or cable, right? I had that problem before. We fixed the TV. I know what's wrong with it. Took it back. Remote's not working. Remote's not working. We told the guy, hey, we didn't have the remote there. We don't know what's going on. Changed the batteries. The guy kept calling back. Brought the TV back in. Figured out whoever worked on the TV had actually bent this wire, or like crunched it, right? And that's what was causing the problem. So we just fixed it or put another wire on there, and he was good to go. But anyway, what I'm going to do is take my lead here, and I'm going through each one of these test points right here, and I'm going to try to locate the one that has that output signal. If I don't get anything on those test points, then yeah, we know that we have a bad infrared board. But anyway, this TV is working now, so I'm just going to show you, just for future reference, what it should look like. Okay, I actually located the pin with the remote signal coming from the IR board to the main board. I'm going to see if I can zoom in on my scope a little bit. As you can see, I have two channels up, one in yellow, one other one in blue. And I'm going to hit the remote control. I'm going to hit power. And as you can see, they both lined up correctly. Okay? TV came on. I'm going to try another button. I'm going to try hit volume. I'm going to hold that down. See that? Okay. We are in perfect shape. Now, if one of those signals, like the blue one, that's channel 2. I have the channel 2 on the actual main board. If that wasn't in sync with the yellow one, or was being clipped, or was much lower, or looked kind of crazy when we hit the remote, then we know that we most likely have a problem. Okay, pretty much. Okay, so we have to isolate that. But pretty much, that's how you check your remote functions. Now, if we get both of those signals together, I'm gonna try channel. See that? Okay. I'll take this one off, and that's just my lead on the actual IR infrared detector board. Okay. Now, if we get both of these signals and we're still not getting any remote functions, then we know we have a problem further down to the main board. And if you get a schematic, or if you want to troubleshoot it and just follow the traces, you can actually fix that. Okay. One more thing I want to try before I end this video is I want to use my Hantek. This also has a scope on it. It's okay. It's a little slower. This one has 8 gigasamples per second. This rigol here, and that's the reason I love this scope. It's super fast, and you can see all the details in it. But let's just try this one and see what happens. Okay, I've got both of my channels hooked up to my portable Hantek here, and I'm going to go to that test point on the main board. I got my channel 1 probe, the yellow, in the same position. Okay. Now, using with this scope, I can tell that the signal is a little smaller, all right, at the end of the plug on the main board. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and hit our remote. And as you can see, it pretty much lines up. Okay. I'm holding the button down. Okay guys, that's it. That's how you check remote control circuit on your TV. Like I said, it's a JVC 42-inch TV. I'll put the model number somewhere in the video. So guys, if you like the video, make sure that you give me a thumbs up. Make sure that you guys do subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching. Big Dog out.